All right, let's go ahead and get this meeting started. Jeff, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Martin,
Present.
Commissioner Shelton,
Here.
Commissioner Kiesling,
Present.
Commissioner Abbott,
Here.
Commissioner McCarty.
Here.
All members are present.
Okay. All right. Jeff had sent out the minutes for our December 15th meeting. I hope everyone's had a chance to look at these.
Yep, they look good.
Do you like to make a motion then?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Jeff, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelton,
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling,
Yes.
Commissioner Abbott,
Yes.
Commissioner McCarty.
Yes.
Motion is approved 5-0.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is an election of officers. We are statutorily required to do so each year. I believe we have 3 officers, actually. We have a president, a vice president, and a secretary. Is that correct, Jeff?
That's how we've historically done it, yes. By statute, you have to have at least the president and the secretary.
Okay. Do we have anybody who would like to make some nominations or figure out how we want to do this?
I nominate Richard Martin to be continuous president.
Second.
Do you want to do this individually or all together? And I would like to know that I believe I am the secretary and that I should not be the secretary.
Right.
Okay.
Right, since you're leaving.
Yeah.
Well, I'll propose a slate. I propose Richard as president, Iris as vice president, and I'll be happy to serve as secretary again.
Okay.
I can second that slate.
All right. We have a proposed slate of officers with Richard Martin as president, Iris Kiesling as vice president, and Jim Shelton as secretary. Jeff, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelton,
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling,
Yes.
Commissioner Abbott,
Yes.
Commissioner McCarty.
Yes.
Motion is approved 5-0.
Okay. All right. Meeting schedule is our next item. Jeff, did you have a proposed formal schedule?
We've met the third Wednesday at 4:30 every month for the past half dozen to dozen years.
Yep.
I always have this as the initial item on the first meeting of the year in case that schedule does not work for someone.
Is there anybody who objects to that schedule?
No, but are there any holidays that we need to be aware of? Oh,
I don't think so from the last time I looked.
Yeah, I think the third Wednesday is usually one that's free.
At Thanksgiving might be the only thing, but Thanksgiving comes pretty late, so let me see. I'm in the wrong calendar. No, even Thanksgiving doesn't come in.
Yeah, it's
That's
highly
pretty-
unlikely if something comes up, we can always change it when we
Right.
recognize it, but
I don't
Wednesdays
see
are pretty
anything.
safe.
So do I have a motion for that meeting schedule?
I'll move.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for meeting on the third Tuesday of each month at 4:30 PM.
Third
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, sorry. And these will be virtual until we are released from our virtual paradigm mandatory.
I was waiting to see what noun you were going to put there at that end.
Well, it makes it quite nice and easy to get things done. That's for sure, to have this virtual. I have
Yeah.
to say,
Well, and it's obviously safer, and let's Lisa participate. I was in a meeting Sunday where one of the people had COVID, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeff, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelton,
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling,
yes.
Commissioner Abbott,
yes.
Commissioner McCarty.
Yes.
Motion is approved 5-0.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is a discussion of the 46 quarter. I'm assuming that we got the bond issue all squared away issued at the end of last year?
We did. That was taken care of prior to the end of the year.
Okay.
I think that the next step is to look at look at the, the kind of undeveloped areas to see about revamping the TIF or carving it out and creating a new TIF. I know residential TIF is something that we've discussed. I'll tell you that I got information from the assessor's office. And I think the assessor reported that there were some new single family housing in Richland Township. And that puts us over that 1% over the last 3 years of new housing being built there, but there were none in Bloomington Township. No
Okay.
new single family housing last year, which puts us well under, and that would qualify under the state code to allow a residential TIF. I've asked Jared Eichmiller to be here. He's our GIS specialist. He prepared a map that I forwarded to you, so I wanted to have him here so he can hear what we need. And I worked with him with the precinct and boundary district committee, and it was thrilling to see what he could do and how quickly he could pull together maps and get them out. So I thought we'd have him here. Maybe, Jared, I don't know if you have the ability to share your screen, but show the map that you had created and just kind of get some feedback from the Redevelopment Commission on what they'd like to see.
Let me back up one moment. Now that we have that bond issue together, as I understand it, we will now, Lisa will now begin working on a plan for the development of that Hunter Road corridor as an extension of Prairie Pike. And how is this going to play out now? I guess because this is a bond that is set up so that they draw upon it as they do the work. Is that what?
Yes.
Do I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
And I
So
think Lisa's role is to review what Kreider is doing.
right.
And because Kreider is going to be responsible for a lot of design work, and then it will go to Lisa for review.
Right.
As it goes forward.
So this is they've submitted design. We review it, approve the design specification, and then they will do the construction work and do the billing based upon their completed construction work. Is that correct? Is that in your understanding, Lisa?
Yeah, from the last meetings, are you talking to me, Richard?
Yeah.
Yes,
From the last meetings I've been in, I don't know if I was in the last ones with Steve or not. I think I was gone, Jeff.
Could be. It was prior to the holiday, so I think the last meeting I had with Steve was more about making sure we had all the documentation together for the closing of the bond. But I think you were at the one prior to that.
I don't know if I have, yeah.
I think what sounds to me like is you and I should probably get a hold of Steve and make sure, we're communicating and everything's going as it should. And
Yeah.
Paul probably should be there too.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
that Paul and Lisa and you should probably get in touch with Steve and just make sure that we're all working in sync here. And that so that then you can report to us exactly how this is going to go forward when we've got expectations of payouts and that kind of stuff. So we've got a pretty good handle on what's going on. All right, now let's go forward with the map issue that you've produced for today.
Hi, so I think Jeff had provided a map to you all probably 2 or 3 months ago now. That was the improved assessment value for the bowl of sorts for Road 46. And then, so what this map is, and so it's harder whenever it's a print map that's this large, but this is the captured assessed value for the increment, and that's what the auditor's office provided for us.
Okay. So this is, so if I understand this, this would be the increased value in each of the identified parcels since this TIF district was established, what, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, something like that? 10 years ago? Is that correct?
I think it's closer to 15. I think
Yep.
it was, actually, it's closer to 20.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It was established in, I think, 2003.
Right.
One of the things that I was talking with Jared about and is that some of these parcels, even though they are shaded at a higher assessed value mark, captured assessed value,
Right.
don't have any improvements on them since the beginning of the district. I can tell you the orange one at the bottom, it may have some buildings on it, but they certainly aren't improvements in any sense of the word, and they would have been built
Right.
when they were using that as a mining site.
Right.
I think the large orange one, kind of in the middle of the screen, Jared, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that just has an old farmhouse on it that clearly was built well.
It was like 3 pole barns or something. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And I assume the ones along the I-69 corridor, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in a row there. I think those are probably because they were subdivided and got value when they were subdivided. So that's their assessed value is essentially a result of the subdivision that occurred. So essentially we have high value at Westbury Village.
Mm-hmm.
One of the parcels in Westbury Village, which has I think the largest building there. We have several parcels in the Westbury Village that have no increased value. One north of it, which has no value, and a couple of south of that, which have no increase in value. What about the one along Hunter Valley Road that has no increase in value? Is that one of them that we purchased, or is that an existing?
That has an existing building on it.
Right. Why would that building not have increased in value?
I
thought that building it existed when this was
Right.
in
That's been there
2003, but
long,
it's
right?
been improved since 2003. I think that
Well,
building's
maybe-
been improved.
Maybe they've just let it go. I haven't been there.
Well, okay, that's a separate issue, but let's go back to the main issue here. So have you totaled up the increased assessed value here?
I have not, but that is something that I can work on for you guys.
Yeah. And I guess then the issue is, once we know what its total assessed value is, we can determine how much revenue it's actually generating now.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we take that revenue and divert it from the existing TIF, then it reduces the amount of funds that are available to pay off the existing bond. So we need to know what that is so we can figure out whether we've got it available or if we expect it to be made up by other developments in the remaining portion of the TIF, so that we're not reducing our ability to pay off that bond to which we are now obligated.
And I also think it's important to know what had been what we're capturing with new development that was made after the TIF, right? Because
Yes,
if you reset the increment, then that value is no longer captured in TIF.
right. So if we would split this off into a new TIF, then all of these go back to zero in terms
Correct.
of the captured amount. So we need to get what some of those values are going to be. I'd be interested in terms of specifically what percentage of our assessed value of the entire TIF these parcels represent.
Jeff, aren't we gonna look at our TIF reviews with, oh my goodness, I can't remember his name.
Financial Solution Group.
Thank you. And couldn't this be part of that package, some of this analysis?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Because a lot of our added value actually is, or almost all the added value that is significant is, I recall from the last map we did, south and southwest of the 46 highway. So
Yes.
most of these are the ones that have kind of organically increased in value as opposed to increased in value because of some development activity.
And I think if you look at this map, I think that's primarily true, but I also think there's that portion in the far northwest corner that is also different. I think
Yes.
that, but I guess I would, Jared, if when you look at this, it would be nice to highlight where the township line is on this
Right.
between Richland and Bloomington. I think that's going to be important for us to note as well.
Yes. Yeah. There are some notable gaps in this. So you were talking about that area on the northwest. So we've got the heavily developed area, and then there's a space before we get to another area that has a value in it. Is that parcel not part of the TIF?
These are the lines from the map that we had previously looked at, kind of trying to figure out, like, from an authoritative perspective, like what is within the TIF. So I can take a second to look.
Well, the parcel numbers should have been in the original
Right,
approval.
Yeah.
So you should be able to, where that gets dicey is when they
Split.
split.
Right.
But that should be in there because it would have to be contiguous, wouldn't it?
Yes.
I think there is also part of the TIF that's south of the road that's not highlighted on this.
Okay.
So it's still
Still
could be.
possible, but we need to check specifically on that parcel. We also need to check on the parcel which is in the middle of the map at the end of, was it, is that, I've forgotten the name of the street, but north of Hunter Valley Road.
Area.
Didn't we verify that in fact that parcel was included?
I think that, so whenever I made this, I was going based off of the auditor's Excel document that was like listing within this area. So yeah, I mean, there's still a discrepancy as far as it was never determined, like as far as the lines that we drew off of, like the PDF maps and the poor quality, like
Right.
tables that we have of like what is currently like actually the TIF district. So,
Right.
there are gaps in information there.
Right. Because I think Jeff looked up and found that parcel number specifically called for as an addition to the TIF.
Yeah. I remember one of them was specifically added
Right. Right.
in the second approval.
Yeah,
Right.
because there were a couple that were in like paragraph format almost. I remember now that you had to find.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So we want to make sure that we've got the parcels that we're interested in here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to extend Curry Pike to Hunter Valley Road so that that's a throughway,
Mhm.
Okay, good idea.
right? The county has purchased some properties south of Hunter Valley Road so that they're, for the purposes of captured value, that goes to zero because they're not paying any taxes. Is that correct, Jeff?
That is correct.
Okay, so those should be kind of zeroed out since they're not going to be of any value to us. And then what we're assuming is that by doing this connection, we are providing enough incentive that some of these other properties in that area are going to start to develop, and that the value added to those properties would then be available for us to do at least one more significant project roadway-wise in this area. And the thought is we would try and do the extension of whatever that little north-south road is that's connecting to Vernal Pike or to Curry Pike, and bring it back up so that it runs out onto 446 somewhere in that northwest corner where the road cut has already been made. I'm assuming that's kind of our long-term plan here at this point. The desire is that somewhere in this, then, we're able to find a mechanism whereby we could create some affordable housing opportunities.
Mhm.
Not being too specific at this point about what such an opportunity would consist of, but at least trying to get an idea of what we might be able to do infrastructure-wise that would facilitate that. Is that a fair summary of what we're looking at here?
I think so.
I do too.
Me too.
Okay, so we want to, for this particular set of parcels, we need to know, make sure that we're accurately representing the TIF, and I've identified the parcels that are in the TIF. We need a total amount of the assessed valuation for those parcels, so that if we do separate this out, we can judge the impact that separation has on the existing TIF obligations that we've got for the new Hunter Valley Road project. And then we need to start thinking about what the realistic estimates for growth in this area are going to be that would generate additional TIF revenue. Because once we split this out, there is no captured value remaining. It all goes to zero. And so that we'd have to start capturing value at that point. And to do that, we're going to need development in this area.
Right.
So
And we
those are
also need the township line, so we know where we can
Yes.
even be considering residential TIF.
right. Because it could be that the couple of parcels on the west side of this are not even available for us to think about that way. And am I correct, Jeff, that we no longer have the option of setting aside a portion of the existing TIF for residential development as a something we can support?
Well, I don't want to say you don't have that option legally, but practically speaking, the amount of time left in the current TIF of 10 years,
Right. It's not
given
sufficient.
the construction and the cycles for building residential
Right.
buildings, makes it not practical.
Right. Okay. All right. I think that's the determination we made the previous time as well.
Mhm.
Okay. Any further discussion on this?
Well, just once we get sort of a plan, we got to get Steve Kreider to buy into it as well, I think.
Yeah, certainly that's true. I mean, and I think he would be, at least from the discussions we had, he was somewhat amenable to that. But I think it's our obligation is to clearly demonstrate to him that we think it's a viable idea and that whatever bonding authority we would issue could actually be recovered and paid by the new development. So that it may be that we are really going to have to find some kind of viable development opportunity, and before this is really going to be feasible. Somebody making a commitment to do X number of dwelling units at such and such a price in a particular area, something like that. It may be necessary before we can actually do this. But given that we've started to see, I mean, the city did something similar to that with a project on the south side of town with a developer that worked with the city on a variety of funding mechanisms to make it work. So we may be able to do something like that. We certainly haven't seen any slowdown in the rate of residential development occurring. It's continuing. Much of it is apartments, but duplex housing is still considered acceptable for the kind of project we're thinking about here.
Jeff, the property that's being built by Trinitas or was donated by Trinitas across the highway, that would be in Bloomington Township. Would we not need to get this done prior to the development and assessment of that in order to still make those calculations work?
I think we're better off getting the TIF created this year, because we'll
Yes.
use the previous 3 years data.
Right.
I don't know how close we were on that calculation, but there's a number of housing units going in that parcel.
I think honestly, my memory is that we had plenty of space left there, but that doesn't mean. I mean, it's a numerator and a divisor, so you know.
Is it buildable? That's the other question.
Yeah, well, I think that the calculation is single family homes, right?
Yes.
It's not multifamily. We're seeing a lot of multifamily in Bloomington Township, but not very much single family. And certainly single family style is what we're looking for here at this point. Okay, so you have a set of things we have questions about that we'd like to see done next.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything else to add at this point? Okay, let's move on through our agenda then. All right, staff updates. Lisa Ridge, let's start with you.
Well,
Are
I
we
don't.
building anything yet?
Say what?
Are we building anything yet? Or is it still?
Well,
too cold?
it's kind of in the slow time right now. We're still moving utilities at Curry, Vernal, and Woodyard. We're set to have those moved by the end of February to where we can start back at construction in March. And of course, that's project is scheduled to be done by the end of the year.
Okay.
Fullerton Pike, Phase 3, we are doing right-of-way acquisition at this time. I believe we've put out probably, I'm going to say there's 13 to 16 parcels. And I think we've gotten 8 back that we've signed to where we can start negotiations on those. But it's kind of slow right now just because it's the winter months. But if you have a question about a certain project, I'd be happy to answer it for you.
The only one I have we gotten the closeout from Kreider on the work on the west side? So we,
No, that the last meeting, Jeff Cockrell, I think you were meeting with Steve the next day and you were going to mention it.
I did, and he told me that he would get right on it.
And that's what Jeff
So,
Greider told me 6 months ago too. And as
Well-
you see in your claims, you've got the last claim for Smith Design for construction inspection for that project. But
Right.
I have not received anything from Kreider.
we will, when we set up the meeting with you and Paul and I with Steve, we'll make sure Steve knows that we want the results and finalized then at that meeting.
I mean, like, can we give them a date past which if we don't receive anything, we'll consider the project closed? I mean, at some point, if they don't send a bill, it's like there is no bill going to ever come.
I'll have to
Yeah,
look at the agreement to see
Okay.
what it says.
Yeah, and we finished this, we opened it in 2020.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
So, okay,
What about the vernal connector?
We are under right-of-way acquisition at this point. I think we have one secured property of 6. All the offers are out. We do have one that we have, the company, the parcel owner missed any of the deadlines for response extension. We did offer the first extension. They have exceeded that extension. So we have started the paperwork to go to condemnation for that one. I believe we just now received a counter offer that we need to look at and go over. We just received that today for another one of the big parcels. We just have 2 really big parcels out there. The rest are smaller right-of-way acquisitions. So we haven't had the chance to thoroughly look at what the counter offer was that we just received today. So I'll be getting with Jeff and whomever we need to get with on evaluating these counter offers and how we want to proceed with those.
okay. How did we ever do that swap offer thing? How did that turn out? Or are we still thinking about that or?
Well, I actually talked, I think the plan I had, the planning and I had put together and we thought everybody was on board with was that they were going to submit some documents to planning to get a new plat for that area and get it taken care of. I actually spoke with the developer, I think it was yesterday. And so he had we're trying to figure out how to speed up that time frame from his perspective. Unfortunately, we've got to look at a lot of state statutes for these kind of transactions, and we're looking for a route to go with that. He seems, I think we are all in agreement of what it looks like at the end of the day. And we all have a plan. We're just looking at a second plan to maybe speed it up somewhat if we can.
Yeah. I mean, the only concern I had there was we made a significant investment in that intersection stub. And I'd hate to think we're just giving them that as a driveway for that intersection. If we can't get some value out of that, I'd be disappointed. But a good resolution of the land swap to get us moving forward on that connector would be, I think, a reasonable thing to do. Okay. Jeff, did you have anything else?
I had forwarded today some annual report contracts. I looked at them. I'm going to ask for some more details on timeframe for return of for giving us the annual reports and then the meeting itself. So we're going to get that built into those contracts.
Okay.
I'm also going to ask that they detail out a little bit more in the State Road 46 corridor, some of the information that you guys just asked about with that, kind of northern portion, what impact that would have if it was removed from the TIF district and
Right.
all that. Let's get
Right.
that part of that annual report. So
Okay.
I'll bring those back in February, which is when we typically approve those. I
Okay.
just had them, so I thought I'd get them out as quickly as I could.
Okay. And as your email indicated to me, there is a slight increase in a couple of them, but
Yeah.
nothing really significant.
Right.
Okay. All right. Any other staff updates? Okay, let's move on to claims. I had a question about the RBB claims. When I go through this and I look at this and the claim forms, it looks to me like what we're doing is approving the fall for 2021 and the spring for 2022. It says 2021, but the invoice we have here shows that that's paid already. So I was confused. Didn't we pay them something last year?
Mhm.
We paid them an amount last, I think it was March, beginning of early March for the previous year. And so I looked through the transaction history in that fund. And so we did not make the after spring settlement payment. So this is just making both of those payments. I think we've got at least one new member, and RBB will be at your February meeting to do their
Right.
annual or semi-annual kind of review and report. But we did not make the post spring settlement payment last year. So this is basically making both of those payments at once.
How did we end up not making it?
Yeah, didn't they miss it?
I don't know, to be honest with
I
you.
mean, I guess the question is, was there actually a payment? Maybe there wasn't a payment due last year?
No, I think we have a payment every year. Yeah.
Well, I thought we
Two.
tried to make them
Twice.
contiguous so
Well,
that they,
Isn't the payment based on performance of the TIF?
Well,
I
that's, it's-
kind of agree with Richard. I'm looking at my old claims things.
I looked through my notes, but I couldn't find that we paid anything last year, but that there should be a record somewhere along the line.
Okay, I'm
'Cause I
gonna,
wondered the same thing, because I thought that doesn't make sense. Jim, did you have a thought?
no, just my thought was I would be amazed. I'm surprised they didn't bring it to our attention if we didn't. But,
Right.
you know, I don't,
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I don't remember stuff like that in that detail.
Well, I haven't had time to look it up because it would be in our claims that we would have approved.
Right. And I couldn't find it in my claims listing, because all the claims were under 100,000 for the first part of, the last part of the year.
Yeah.
when we get done with this meeting, I tried to remotely log into my desktop, but I need to restart my laptop to do that. I can get into Lao and then I can send you guys, I can run a spreadsheet and see what was paid in 2021 and give you those dates and give you those amounts so we can all be on the same page.
That'd be great, Lisa. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Because it shows, I mean, the one invoice that I do have shows that it was paid January 5, but I can't figure out what year it was paid.
Can we approve the claims contingent on Lisa's checking that
Right.
payment out? That way we don't have to delay it any longer.
Yes, I think we can do that. We can,
I'll
we can.
I'll
we can
move
continue.
I'll move to approve the claims contingent on Lisa and Jeff researching the spring 2021 payment.
I'll
Actually, I think I can forward, so sorry, go. Sorry.
Collie seconded. Colin.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the claims, which consist of an RBB claim of 127,578.58, an RBB claim of 142,421.42, a DLZ claim for 135, and a Smith Design Group claim for 1232, for a total of $271,367, conditioned upon a satisfactory finding that the RBB claim for the contract spring 2021 was not previously paid, or that no payment was made in 2021 for the STEM EDU contract with RBB.
Yeah,
That's
what
it.
Richard said, that was better than what I said.
That sound correct?
Just one note, and just
Yes.
so it's in the record. We typically will make the second payment in January or so we would have made one payment in 2021 but it was for
Previous year.
2020. So I
Right.
just want to make sure that is clear to
Right.
everyone.
Because we make them after the settlement date that
Yes.
comes forward. So we would have made a payment, but it would have been for 2020. Okay. All right. So we just want to make sure we haven't made another payment
For the spring of 2021.
for the spring of 2021. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Thanks, Lisa.
We have a motion and a second. Would you call the roll, Jeff?
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelton,
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling,
Yes.
Commissioner Abbott,
Yes.
Commissioner McCarty.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 5-0.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Any more staff comments?
I do not have any more. Lisa?
Nope.
Okay. All right. And do we have any comments from the commissioners?
I just have one thing. Jeff, did you get a chance to look at that Senate Bill 406 that I sent you the link to?
Yeah, I've given it a brief look, but I haven't, I mean, it seemed to say that if annexation occurs, the agreements with the county and the city can affect where the TIF revenue goes.
Okay, I just thought that it was relevant to what we are dealing with and we should know about it.
Lisa, what's the number again? Senate Bill
Senate Bill 406.
406, okay.
And it
Thanks.
talks about overlapping allocation areas in the event of an annexation. It's sponsored by Senator Scott Baldwin. So I just wanted to make sure that we brought it to our attention so we just knew what was happening out there, since we are in process of the city considering annexation that would annex part of
Right.
our redevelopment area. So
Right, but they don't have it. This would be if they created a TIF that would overlap with our existing TIF.
it says it's on overlapping allocation areas. This is the digest. It says permits counties and municipalities in a case in which a municipality annexes an area in the county after the county has established a redevelopment district in that area to mutually approve the allocation of property tax proceeds derived from the municipality's component of the tax rate applied to the allocation area to be transferred to the redevelopment commission of the annexing municipality. I haven't read all the legislation, but that's the digest. And I
Okay,
thought, that sounds like that's applicable to our situation. So I just thought we'd be aware of it.
yeah, okay.
I'll put the link in the, can I put something in the chat? I'll put the link in the chat.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
okay. Any more commissioners' comments? All right, do we have anybody from the public who would like to make a statement? Excuse me while I
I
copy.
just wanted to say welcome to Commissioner McCarty.
Appreciate that.
Okay, Senate Bill 406. Okay, thank you, Lisa. I've got it up now. I can take a look at it. Okay, I'm sorry, let me get back. Any comments from anybody else in the public? Hearing none, I think we are ready to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second, please? And I believe we are adjourned. Thank you all. Lisa?
Get
take
well,
care of
Lisa.
Yourself,
Get well.
please. Just don't let it ride. If you're not getting better, then you're getting worse. You'll get somebody's attention.
I will.
Got some
Right.
doctor advice. It's important.
Yeah.
I will.
All right,
Good.
thank you.
Thank you.